These are all the books that I bought in 2024, and I'm going to tell you how much I spent on all of them. Obviously, I read a lot of books. I read over 100 books last year. I'm on track to read 100 books again this year, and I am trying to be conscious about how much I'm spending on books, especially because I will not be in this country come November. Dan and I are going to be working remote from Costa Rica, so I need to downsize my situation here. I feel like my book buying has gone in a couple of phases. I feel like I was buying so many books when I first joined BookTube, and it was getting out of hand because I was so excited about rediscovering this hobby of mine that I had loved for so long, and having the time and finances to get back into it was so exciting for me. And I went a little overboard, and I bought a lot of books, and a lot of them are still sitting on my TBR shelf. So I want to look through every single book that I bought in 2024, tell you whether or not I read it or not, whether or not I regret purchasing it, and if I currently have plans to finish it, because any book that I purchase right now, I want to read before I leave the country. Let's start with the thing that's going to be the same every month, which is my Scribd/Everand subscription. This is an audiobook subscription. I really enjoy having this. I read probably about half the books that I read on audiobook, whether that's from my library or from Scribd. So I am typically reading anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4, however many I can read before they decide to lock me out of the app for another month. I think Everand is so frustrating because I really hate that they market it as an unlimited audiobook situation, and then once you read too many books, they lock you out until the next month, which is super frustrating. But I still do think it's worth it because I pay $12.99 a month, and I'm able to read anywhere from 1 to 4 books out of that, which is going to be cheaper than any other audiobook subscription out there. So we're going to go month by month. In January of 2024, my grand total spent on books was $86, which is kind of a lot of books. I also spent apparently $37 on this book. I had to go through and check that that was not a typo in my Amazon cart, but I did indeed spend $37 on this, and I got 74 pages into it. Do I regret buying this? Do I regret buying this? I think I do regret buying this. I reread this entire series because I love it so much. It's from my favorite author, and when I found out, when I found out there was a new book in this series, I was so excited to read it. It's cozy-ish fantasy romance. They are so fun, so tender, also spooky. T. Kingfisher is a great horror writer, and I feel like that shows in these. I own only one other book in this series because I love reading these on audio. This one also came from Amazon and has just pages that are just coming out of it. It is very difficult to read this physically. This one is bound better, but by the time I picked it up, I had binged my way through the other 3 books in the series, and I was burnt out of this series. I felt like the main character was super annoying, and I DNF'd it. And I have every desire to pick this up again in the future, but truthfully, I think I'm gonna wait for the audiobook. And I don't know when the audiobook is coming out because I think this is being traditionally published, so I don't think she has say over when the audiobook comes out. I really hope it's the same audiobook narrator because I love it when that audiobook narrator narrates these books. But I think truthfully I'm gonna wait for the audiobook to come out, and I wish I had just waited. So that's a good lesson for me to learn. Even though I was super excited about it and I had plans to read it in a video, and life just got in the way, and I don't think I could have known this when I purchased the book, but looking back, I do regret purchasing this. I wish I just would have waited and listened to an audiobook like I did the rest of them. Then I spent $19.31 on A Little Devil in America from my local independent bookshop. I've already read this. I read it for a video. I will link it in the description. I loved this so much. It is an incredible collection of essays by Hanif Abdurraqib, and I really want to read this book. It has like a wolf, I think, on the cover. I forget the name of it, but I desperately want to pick this up. Let me know if you've read it and if you enjoyed it, which one you enjoyed better out of these 2. But I'm super excited to pick up more from this author in the future. It's just an incredible book about Black performance, and you can really tell that a poet wrote this because it is written with such a close attention to the language, and just every essay feels like art. I love this book so much. So glad that I got a physical copy of it because I did annotate the crap out of this, as you can see from my underlining, and I really enjoyed having the physical copy. I did end up listening to some of this on audiobook as well, but I really enjoyed having the physical copy so I could underline. And my last purchase in that month was the audiobook for A Little Devil in America. I was reading it for a video. I was behind. I needed to listen to the audiobook so I could listen to it while I did dishes and cleaned my house and went for walks. Audible is not my audiobook subscription of choice. My audiobook subscription of choice is Libro FM. I love them so much. I'm in their influencer program. They are the same price as Audible, and it's Amazon free, and they support local independent bookstores. So I get to support my local bookstore, Park Road Books, when I buy through Libro FM. I love them so much. Unfortunately, I started, I think, a free trial of Audible, or I needed a book that was only available on Audible. Sometimes they have like exclusive rights to an audiobook. So I signed up for a monthly subscription because it's cheaper. It's like $16 a month to do the subscription, whereas if you just want to buy a book, it's like 30 bucks. So I signed up for the subscription and then I forgot to cancel it. And the problem with Audible is you can't cancel your subscription until you use up your credits. So I kept being like, okay, well, I won't cancel it now because I want to use this credit, but I don't know what book I want to buy. So the next time I buy a book, I'll cancel it. And then I kept forgetting to cancel it. The last two books I have to show you from January were gifted to me by one of you lovely people. Shay sent me both of these. They are The House Witch and Lightfall. I have read both of them. One of them was unfortunately a flop. This is a cozy fantasy that I did not love, but this is maybe my favorite graphic novel of all time. I love it so much, and I cannot wait to pick up volume 2. The art style, beautiful. The writing, adorable. I just think this is really well crafted and absolutely a cozy good time. In February, I spent $73 on books, so we went down from January. Yay. I bought these 3 books from Pango. That is my favorite place to find used books. And I had plans to read all of these in the video where I read 5-star predictions. I only read 2 of them, but I absolutely loved both of them. I gave both of these 5 stars. This is a really interesting like sci-fi thriller about this deadly poet society, if you will. It has a lot to say about language. It was really fast-paced, kept me on my toes. Super interesting, had a lot to say about language and really itched my brain in a good way. This you will see in my top 10 books of the year. It's probably one of my favorite books of all time. I love Deathless so much. Kat Valente is one of my favorite authors now, and I'm so happy that that video made me read these books. This is a Cochet the Deathless retelling, and it is so good. Heartbreaking portrayal of war. You're in a fairyland for most of it, and it is stunning. I have no other words for it. It's stunning. Definitely do not regret purchasing either of these. They were 5 stars. I want them on my shelves, and I bought them used, so they weren't that expensive. This guy I was supposed to pick up because it has an animal companion and it's slightly speculative, and I think it's cozy fantasy. I still am very excited to read this. I'm sure it will be read in the next 24-hour readathon. I like to save my graphic novels for when I need a break when I'm doing a 24-hour readathon. I also forgot to cancel my Audible subscription again, but I used it to listen to the audiobook of this because I really was not liking it, and I switched to the audiobook. But some of you were telling me in the comments that the audiobook was really bad and that I shouldn't listen to the audiobook because you hated it, and so maybe that's why I didn't like this so much, but I don't know. I think I still would have disliked it if I read it physically, but that's what I used my Audible credit on. Again, in February, we have the Scribd/Everand subscription, and I was charged for Book of the Month in February. The reason I was charged for Book of the Month in February, even though I did not order this book until this month, is because I had not used my Book of the Month subscription, I think, for an entire year. So it charged me again. I basically like lost my credit and it charged me for a year of subscription. So I have since canceled my Book of the Month subscription because obviously I'm not using it. I don't love reading hardcover books. I prefer paperbacks, and I have a lot of books that are unread physically that I have already. And if I'm so excited about a book that I want the new release hardcover, I don't want the Book of the Month sticker on it, and so I have canceled my Book of the Month subscription. I still think this is incredible service, especially if you like hardcover books, if those are your book of choice and you don't mind the little Book of the Month sticker. I think it's cute when people have like a whole shelf of them, but I just don't have that many of them, and I'm trying to reduce the amount of physical books I have. So for now, I am no longer using my Book of the Month subscription, but I paid for this, so let's open it. I've been waiting for a book to really strike my fancy, and this one did. It is The Ministry of Time, and the back says, a boy meets a girl, the past meets the future. A finger meets a trigger. The beginning meets the end. This sounds so far up my alley in like the weird sci-fi romantic. I don't know, it has everything that I think I would enjoy in a book. It is supposed to be a hilarious romp through time, space, and the human heart. And I'm so excited. It feels like this is how you lose the time war meets Becky Chambers is kind of the vibe that I'm expecting from this. We have a civil servant who has been invited to work on a top secret project and basically needs to help this person who was living in 1847 acclimate to our time frame. And I think they're gonna fall in love, and I'm really excited to find out what happens. I think after reading that synopsis, it's gonna be less Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I thought we were gonna be like going on a mission through time and space, but maybe we're just teaching a man from the 1800s how to use a washing machine. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I do not regret buying this book. I'm excited about it. And I don't regret my Book of the Month subscription because I got some amazing books from it. Both Thistlefoot and The Adventures of Amin al-Sarafi and Sign Here came from it. And they were all like 5-star reads for me. So I feel like there is a time in which I would restart my subscription, but I am trying to save money and I just am not buying new hardcovers right now. So for now, the Book of the Month subscription has to go. Moving on to March, I spent $111 on books in March, and I bought 6 books. So first I went to my local indie in my like spring reset, I believe it was, and I purchased some books, and I have read one of them so far. Read 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart and Other Stories by Jenna Rose Nethercott in my Reading My Most Anticipated Books video. Loved it, gave it 5 stars, one of my favorite short story collections, would highly recommend. And then I bought this gothic horror situation. We have these 2 men who are working in this like conservatory, and they create this woman out of a fungus. And I love fungal horror, so I had to get it. And then this is Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison, who's the author of Love Light Farms. And I wanted a cozy spring romance, and I'm bringing this to the beach with me this weekend, and I'm very excited to read it. I do not regret either of these, although I fear I may regret this one, because I went in the bookstore, I hadn't heard of this author before, I hadn't read anything by them, and I read the first page, and I said, this feels like it may be a little overwritten, a little too flowery for my taste. And then I saw someone review it and say that they thought it was overwritten and flowery. And I didn't listen to my gut on that, but I think they still rated it like 4 or 4.5 stars. So I still have high hopes for both of these, but I have not read them, so I cannot tell you if they're good. This was a month of me buying things and not reading them, and sometimes that happens, and I would like it to happen less. Because I also purchased and did not read Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Keeping of British Dragons. I want to read this badly. I think it's gonna be cute. I think it's gonna be wholesome. But she's chunky for a cozy fantasy. She is almost 400 pages, and there's no audiobook for it. The type seems small. I'm worried. So please, let me know in the comments if you have read this. Does it live up to the hype? I think I have to read it because this is like one of the 10 cozy fantasy books that everyone is drooling over, so I just hope it lives up to the hype. But personally, I'm scared. I'm worried it's not going to live up to what I think it's going to be. I've been reading a lot of independently published books recently, and I've been a little disappointed by some of them. I want my books to be edited a little bit more. But I still really hope that this is a win, because I also read another independently published book, The Cybernetic Tea Shop by Meredith Katz, and I loved it. It was so short, and I was like, there's no way that we can have a heartbreaking, full relationship story in, under 200 pages. This is barely 100 pages, 112 pages. And it was so good. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this relationship between this AI and this AI repair person. We got to know each of them individually before they met, and then we got to know them together and how they changed each other's lives. And it felt like it had stakes, felt like it had plot. It didn't feel rushed. It still felt cozy and mundane. And it was incredible. Major props to Meredith Katz for being able to put all of this into this short of a book and really respect her reader's time. I also purchased What Feasts at Night, which is the second book that Deacon Bishop released this year. Of course, I had to pick this up. I mean, I wouldn't be me if I didn't go to the bookstore and buy this new on release day. I already read this. I read this in my 24-hour readathon. I enjoyed it. It's the sequel to What Moves the Dead. I have to show you how beautiful this is. I mean, Deacon Fisher makes these illustrations herself, and she is such a talented woman. I did enjoy this. It's not my favorite Deacon Fisher. I prefer her longer horror, but I will take every page that she will give us. And in March, I used my last Audible credit on The Silent Patient, so then I canceled my subscription, so I didn't pay anything for Audible in the month of March. In April, I spent $79 on books. I had my Scribd subscription, and then I restarted my Audible subscription because apparently Audible hates me and they just need me to buy more books. I wanted to read I Am Not Your Baby Mother by Candice Braithwaite, and I could not get another copy of it. I didn't want to read it physically. I wanted to read the audiobook because I love a memoir nonfiction. narrated by the author, and I couldn't get it anywhere else, so I had to restart the Audible subscription. But I have already canceled my subscription. So I restarted the subscription, I used my credit on the book, and then I canceled it immediately. So this will not happen again. I am in the middle of reading that. I will finish that book this month, and I will tell you about it in my motherhood video. Then I wandered around to some local bookstores in and around Charlotte because it was Independent Bookstore Month, and I wanted to go to some bookstores in Independent Bookstore Month. There was a book crawl happening. So I found this at Belmont Bookshop. It is Come Closer by Sarah Gran. It is a possession story and it's nice and short. I love a short horror. Can you tell I'm planning for another 24-hour readathon? I want some short books. Or maybe I'll do like a 7 books in 7 days video. Let me know what you prefer, 7 books in 7 days or 24-hour readathon. I'm very excited about this. I've been wanting a copy of this for a long time and I cannot wait to read it. My battery's about to die, so I'll be right back. We're back. I bought 2 books from Libro FM this month. That is my preferred way to buy audiobooks, and I buy them in bundles of 2 because I don't want to join the membership and then have an Audible situation where I just let my membership run. So I've just been buying credit bundles because I know eventually I'll use them, and Libro FM is nicer than Audible and I can just keep my credits and I don't have to like cancel my access to it. I don't have to have a membership to have credits, basically. I believe what I spent my credits on were 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart. And I know that this means that I bought this book twice, but simply a girl is on a deadline and I needed to finish a video and I did not have the ability to sit down and read this physically. I needed to listen to the audiobook while I was doing other things because there's only 24 hours in a day. And I don't regret doing that. I don't regret buying this book twice, once on audio and once physically, because this is my hobby. YouTube is also my hobby. And so that was a YouTube purchase and not like a me purchase. These are all YouTube purchases. I would spend a lot less money on books if I didn't have this channel, and I want to make that clear. I also used one of my credits to purchase What Have I Done by Laura Dockrell. Again, this is for that motherhood video. This is on postpartum psychosis, and it is one of the best memoirs that I have ever read, and I'm really glad that I picked up the audiobook because the author narrates it, and it's a really hard-hitting memoir, and I really am glad that I got to hear it in her voice, in her own words. Actually, I think I also used a credit on You Know What You Did, so I must have already had a credit from a bundle I had bought previously that I used for 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart, and then I also used a credit on You Know What You Did by Katie Nguyen. This is another situation where I would not have bought that book if it hadn't been for this channel, because I got an early copy from the publisher through NetGalley, and I needed to provide a review, and I did not have the time to read that book physically. I think I had read maybe 20 or 30% of it physically, and I was going to be driving like 4 hours a day that week for work, so I ended up buying the audiobook so that I could just get that done and get that sent off to the publisher. So again, a circumstance in which I wouldn't have purchased if I didn't have this channel, and I want to be transparent about that. Another note here on Libro FM, I'm in their influencer program, which means I get advanced copies of audiobooks. Every month there are like 30-ish to choose from, and then I can download up to 10. So these are all of the books that I have both paid for and gotten through that influencer program over the past few months. I just wanted to share these with you. I think that's everything that happened in 2024. And that brings us to May, where so far I've spent $21 on books, and I purchased 1 book from Park Road Books, which was Ancillary Justice. This is supposed to be for fans of Murderbot, and the covers are so beautiful. Here's all of the series on the back there. I just think they look so stunning, and they're like nice floppy paperbacks. I absolutely love Orbit's paperbacks. The Broken Earth trilogy, which I have here on my shelf, which you can't super see because it's kind of dark, I loved reading those physically. I think they're really nicely made paperbacks. I don't have plans to read this currently, and I was kind of regretting purchasing this because like I said, I really don't want to be buying things when I don't have a specific month or occasion or video that I want to be reading it in. But I do know that I'm eventually going to want to read this, so I'm just going to have to make sure that I prioritize it. I'll probably put it in a 5-star predictions video. I'm thinking about planning one where I read books that have been recommended to fans of other books. So Murderbot is a series that I love that I gave 5 stars to, so this one has been recommended for fans of. Maybe that's a video concept that will happen. Let me know if that sounds interesting to you. The last thing I want to mention is a couple of pre-orders that I had that came in, and I did not pay money for these this year, but I did receive them this year, so I wanted to share them with you as well. The first one is Julia Hungry by Hannah-Louise Poston. She is a YouTuber, and I'm really excited to pick up her poetry collection. I really love her channel. She talks about beauty and fashion and a love of beautiful things, and she is just really concerned with conscious consumption, which I guess is what I'm trying to do with this video, so great time to shout her out and her stuff. I have absolutely no idea when I'm gonna read this, but it'll happen someday. And then the last thing I have to share is this book, which might seem a little off-brand for me, but I'm so excited to read this. This is The Venture Alchemists: How Big Tech Turned Profits into Power, and this is written by one of my college professors, one of my favorite college professors. I took his Student Venture Accelerator class. The first class I took of his was the one that really solidified that I wanted to work for a startup and that I wanted to switch my major away from being pre-med and into the business school. And I started my own business in college in his Student Venture Accelerator, and that's what got me my job that I work as my day job. And I absolutely love my job, so I am so thankful to this man and all of his fantastic mentorship and advice, and I'm really excited to be able to see a lecture from Rob again while I'm reading these pages. I'm really excited about it. And that is everything, which means our grand total is $370.92, which is a lot of money, objectively, to be spending on books. Let me know in the comments if you think this is an insane amount to spend, if you're spending more than this, less than this. I'd love to have a dialogue about how much you think booktubers are spending on books, how much you think is reasonable for us to spend on books, how much you think is reasonable for like the average person to be spending on books. My day job is about budgeting and finance, and I tell people that your budget should align with your priorities and you should make room in your budget for the things that matter most to you. Books are one of my priorities. They are something that matters a lot to me, and this YouTube channel matters a lot to me, and this is such a fulfilling hobby for me. It's my personal growth and development. I learn things. It's entertaining. It is so fulfilling. I want to spend my money on this, so that is what I am doing. But simultaneously, I want to make sure that I am checking myself when I am spending that money, and I'm glad to be doing this video because this was a good way to check in on all of the things that I am spending my money on for books. And I think I've been spending a lot of money on audiobooks, and maybe a little bit too much money on audiobooks now that I think of it. It was kind of a convenience thing for me over the past couple of months, and I think that I would like to think a little bit more before I spend money on audiobooks in the future. I think I'm doing good with my print books. I only really regret one thing, which was Paladin's Faith, and I'm still gonna read that one day. So thank you guys so much for coming along for this journey with me. I know it's been a while since we've done a vlog, and I promise a vlog is coming next week. We are going to the beach. I am leaving tomorrow morning for the beach. We're going to Charleston. I'll already be back by the time you're seeing this, but next week we'll be hanging out on the beach together. We're reading some fun books. I'm just doing a chill, cozy vlog, no theme. I'm excited for it. If you are too, I hope you'll subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in next week's video.